America's World Cup winning soccer team tonight. It's their first visit to Minnesota's brand new Allianz Field in St. Paul, and it's a sellout as the victory tour continues for the players who lit up the summer as they go into action against Portugal. The US women's national team is brought to you by Volkswagen. My name is Ian Dark, alongside our own former World Cup winner, Julie Foudy. Good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us. There is a real party mood around this team. 49,000 turned up to see them in Philadelphia. This is a sellout as well against Portugal. The nation is in love with this team.
There's a lot to love. There's a lot to love. We could have sold this one out twice, I think. It went so fast. So it's fun to see them in this victory tour.
And in a great new stadium as well here, Minnesota United's home. And it's state-of-the-art, isn't it, this?
First time here for me to actually call a game here.
Impressed?
Yes, so impressed. 100 beers on tap.
Yeah.
What's not to be impressed by?
But the party has to end somewhere, and of course the action will continue, and there are games that the US have to play and qualify for another Olympics at the end of it.
And this is the victory tour. Will end with the 2 games in October. They'll have 2 more there, another 2 in their FIFA window that are going to be friendlies, and all going for Olympic qualifiers. January, February, back to She Believes Cup in March here in the United States, followed by a few friendlies in April, June, and July. And they're all gearing up for the big dance this summer, the Olympics, July through August.
Yep, another big competition. And I think we saw in France that the world champions really are the United States, the best team in the world, and you've seen a couple of reasons why.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's a victory tour where they're having fun or if it's a World Cup game. They've been consistently good in this area. When they lose the ball, especially in their attacking third, this team presses. They press from all sides. We saw it in the first game against Portugal. And then when they win the ball back, they're going straight to goal. Ertz finds press out wide, who then finds Heath. And that's the first goal for the United States. They've also been good all summer in and on set pieces in the air. This one, Morgan Bryant, terrible marking by Portugal. But it doesn't matter if it's a set piece. That aerial duel is one that the United States is going to win. Allie Long here on the other one, and that is why it is my Continental Tire Analyst Corner.
Very expectant crowd here. The teams are gathering in the tunnel. They will see the World Cup itself brought onto the field by Carly Lloyd. And when we come back, we'll bring you tonight's team news for both the USA and Portugal. Don't go away. ESPN's coverage of US soccer is brought to you by Volkswagen. Almost set to go here now, and let's bring you tonight's team news, shall we? The United States still without Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe and Rose Lavelle, among others, because of injury. And this is the United States team. It still includes 7 of the lineup that won the World Cup in the final.
And you can see them highlighted there. Virtually that entire left side playing in their traditional 4-3-3 with only Tobin Heath, the only forward of that starting crew from the World Cup, able to play.
Only a few games left now for Jill Ellis, who's won 2 World Cups, and she will equal the late Tony DeCicco's record of 105 wins as the US coach, should the US prevail tonight. As for Portugal, well, they've gone for experience, having been beaten 4-0 by tonight's opposition a few nights ago. 10 of that 11 played in the European Championships in 2017, the exception being the young goalkeeper Pereira.
And the one player the U.S. is going to have their eyes on tonight, Diana Silver, highlighted on that left side, number 16, 4 goals, leads the team in 2019, and she also led the team in World Cup qualifying with 5 goals. Portugal has never scored on the United States in the 8 previous times they've played them.
There's Francisco Neto, who's been in charge now for 5 years. He used to be the goalkeeping coach of this team, and also coached the Goa under-21 team to a championship, and that's quite an achievement, I can tell you. Portugal are rated 30 in the world. They are improving, and looking at it, you'd think they might make the next World Cup, which is going to be expanded to 32 teams. The US playing here in red, and here's Morgan Bryan, one of those who didn't get too much of a look in at the World Cup, and getting it across straight away for the defence to deal with. Heady days for the United States. They've won their last 15 games. This is the best run that the team have been on for some 23 years. Hardly letting in a goal. I think in their last 13 games, they've let in 3 goals.
And just, we were talking about it yesterday, Ian, with Jill Ellis, just the way they won this World Cup as well. I mean, so dominant, getting through 5 European teams in that final stretch.
Diana Silva on that right-hand side for Portugal, who the coach was saying, we will not be able to compete against the world champions in terms of strength and power and speed, but we do have a certain technique. And of course, Portugal is a country famous for producing great male players: Cristiano Ronaldo, Luis Figo, Eusebio, Rui Costa, and currently Bernardo Silva and João Felix. It's been a harder road, though, to get the women's team established in that country. They've never made the World Cup finals yet.
Finished 3rd in their World Cup qualifying group. Italy finished 1st in their group, Belgium 2nd. Belgium ended up losing in the playoffs to Switzerland, who ended up losing to the Netherlands, who made it to the World Cup. But Portugal knocking at that door finally.
And this game is being beamed live to Portugal at 1 o'clock in the morning. And the other game the other night against the US pulled in a pretty good audience at midnight, I'm told. US playing it back towards Dahl Kemper, and here's Julie Ertz. Been to 2 World Cups, won them both. Changed her name and position in the meantime. It's a very noisy crowd. They do love the game in this part of the world, and of course the locals are quite buoyant because Minnesota United won away to LAFC the other night by a couple of goals to 0 to improve their playoff chances.
Not an easy feat against LAFC.
Exactly. So there's a buoyant feel around this place in this splendid stadium. Emily Sonnet playing it down the line. And then Jessica McDonald with a good-looking deep cross in. The goalkeeper was at full stretch to get that away. It was a terrific cross by the only mum in the US squad, Jessica McDonald.
And you know who's going to be sniffing that one out in the box? Carly Lloyd. If there's a ball to be had, she's going to try and be on the end of it.
Is Tobin Heath playing out on the left-hand side tonight with Megan Rapinoe still out injured, looking for a free kick, and she's definitely going to get that from tonight's referee Katarina Koroleva from the US.
This is what Carly Lloyd can do so well, which we've seen for many years in tight spaces against that inline, still able to weave her magic on the inline.
Taken out a bit cynically, really, by Anna Borges. Great atmosphere. Lewis with the header back. Portugal are managing to scramble that away. They're going to have to be defensively resolute tonight. Portugal, they have played the US 8 times in history. They have not scored a goal as yet. Stand by for a huge celebration should that happen. Julie, the crowd are more than a little excited here, aren't they?
I know. You know, the thing too about Minnesota is they've always had a tremendous fan base here. And now with this stadium, it just reverberates throughout the entire stadium.
It's the first time the US women's team have played here, but the program on home soil began not very far from here at Blaine, which you know well, of course. I think that's where you were kind of first spotted, wasn't it, almost?
It was the start of all our national team careers. I'm going to get emotional.
You, Mia Hamm, a few others, well.
That's right. That was back in the days of the youth national team when Anson brought us all up. Mia, Christine Lilly, Carla Overbeck, Brandy, all of us have gone through Blaine.
Which is where the US team were doing their training ahead of this match as well. Also visiting a local children's hospital, that's good to see, and going to the state fair with all the delicious food I'm told there is on offer there, including alligator on a stick. Never tried that one. Not going to either. Here's Heath. Carly Lloyd in goal-scoring form still at the age of 37, and she's a starter tonight because Alex Morgan is still troubled by an injury. I think the fans will be disappointed not to see Alex Morgan and Rose Lavelle and Megan Rapinoe in particular.
You mentioned it in the open, Ian, but again, Alex Morgan had been actually cleared with the concussion protocol, but her knee flared up again in training. Megan Rapinoe still out with that ankles Achilles issue, although I'm told she's also getting much better in training. So hope to see her back in Seattle soon playing. And then Rose Lavelle out on concussion protocol as well still.
Yeah, we spoke to her yesterday, very frustrated at not being able to play, but health comes first.
She said the woman on the ball, her friend Emily Sonnet, is the person responsible for that one.
Here's Crystal Dunn, who looked the best left back in the world, I thought, at the World Cup. Really had a terrific tournament. Now Tobin Heath. Getting goals at the moment, Tobin Heath. I think it's something like 14 in the last 26 games for the US.
You saw Tobin Heath raise two fingers, pointing at her, saying, "That's twice now."
And yeah, she's getting a little warning here, Anna Borges, about that. It was her who fouled Heath just outside the box in the previous incident as well.
Yeah. Tobin was just reminding the referee, "That's twice. Go get her. Go talk. Have a word."
Competitive streak quickly comes back to the surface. Just getting back in the swing of things again. Heath brings it in. It was a header that Tatiana Pinto certainly felt. It's travelling. Here's Emily Sonnet. It's basically the reserve right back behind Kelly O'Hara, another of those who's not quite fit to play at the moment. Mendes inside. Tatiana Pinto's robbed by Julia, but the referee didn't like the robust nature of the challenge.
And this again is where the US has been so good all summer, and especially in the midfield. They press right away when they lose the ball. Ertz is upset. She thinks she got that ball there.
She might have had a point as well.
Exactly. I can see why she is. But the midfielders press, the forwards press backwards. They come on both sides, and it's so hard to establish possession when you're the opponent against the United States.
And watching on is Kate Markgraf, our old colleague who is
Look at her.
And congratulations, the new general manager.
That's
She's got
awesome.
a lot on her plate, and we'll discuss just some of the issues she's got, like the equal pay fight that the US women's team are involved in, and of course the quest to find a new coach to replace Jill Ellis, whose last game will be on October the 6th against South Korea in Chicago.
Kate, why aren't you responding to my texts, Kate? She's got a lot on her plate. Suddenly I've fallen way down the chain, Darky.
Julie who? Played hundreds of times with her.
No, I'm so happy for her. She's going to be phenomenal in that position.
I think you're right. Yep. That's Becky Sauerbrunn with the interception. Portugal just can't get the ball at the moment. There's a pace and relentlessness which has been put into this US side, who a lot of us wondered, would the rest of the world close the gap on them in France? In the end, it didn't happen. They looked the best team from the beginning, and they proved it by lifting the trophy and retaining it at the end of it all with that victory over the Netherlands. Rebello gets it away, but not far. Just playing at a faster pace here, the US.
And that's the thing that's ingrained into the DNA of this team, is you would think victory tour, it's kind of like an all-star game. You're waving, you're kissing babies, you're the mayor, right? It's a victory lap and a celebration. But this group looks at it as another chance to get better. They've got an Olympics around the corner.
Really for Crystal Dunn, formerly quite a prolific goal scorer, but a left back these days. She hasn't scored this year. I think she might see tonight as a chance to maybe put that right. 24 goals, including 5, as I remember, in one game against Puerto Rico.
You said it, Ian, perfectly too. Such a good summer by her, playing against the top strikers in the world on in every single game. She was matched up against their top striker, and so good.
Learning the position all the time, and of course she's got terrific recovery pace. Here's Norton with a good run here for Portugal. Gomes is out wide, and just for a moment there, Portugal were dreaming of their first ever goal against the US. The offside flag was up before Carolina Mendes could latch onto it.
Closer than it looked, actually, but I think it is a good call.
No VAR in operation here, just in case you were wondering.
Thank goodness.
US inside to Morgan Brown. Here's some US, another player who really played very, very well at the World Cup, which was a bit of a frustration really for her rival for that position, Lindsay Horan, who didn't get on in the final. That's Dahl Kemper spreading the ball. Heath trying to get there. And Borges this time does get there first, but I think Anna Borges knows she's got a very, very difficult night in prospect against
got your hands full out there.
Diana Silva couldn't do anything with it. 6 of this team come from the top club in Portugal, Sporting, the famous Lisbon club. Heath gets a good-looking crossing, but didn't really pull it back quite enough. On Thursday, we'll have a UEFA Euro qualifier doubleheader on ESPN News and the ESPN app. Armenia hosting Roberto Mancini's Italy in a Group J matchup. That's 11:50 a.m. Then at 2:30, we'll have Ireland against Switzerland in Group D from Dublin. That could be a very good game, by the way. European Championships next summer, live on ESPN.
The way Portugal lines up in this 4-4-2 as well, that 4 in the midfield are in a diamond pinched in shape, and the US doesn't see a lot of that diamond shape. So what happens is there's going to be tons of space on the flanks for Crystal Dunn, the left back, to jump into. Emily Sonnet on the right. Already seeing Dunn on the left side having success getting forward. But it just asks for them to step into that wide flank space.
Here's Monica Mendes. I definitely think the US have moved up a gear in recent months. I thought it the first time I saw them in action at the World Cup. Jill Ellis and her whole team deserve fantastic credit, because the team was produced at absolute concert pitch. when it really mattered most. Not easy to do that either.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you had your moments before the World Cup where there were some stagnant games or teams that played in a bunker and they struggled to break it down, but then they get to the World Cup and it was as if they just flipped it on.
And I think they had to be that good as well because the standard was the highest yet as we thought it would be. That's Tatiana Pinto laying it inside. Marks on the ball now. Nice piece of work by her, and Portugal will get a free kick. It's a rare venture into the USA's half. Sam Ewis wearing a face mask there. Just have to get the permission of the officials to wear that. It's not usually a problem, and just a precaution to protect her facially. She's taken some kind of knock in that area. Andrean Norton to play that one in. Dahl Kemper, another player who was outstanding at the World Cup. Still no breakthrough for the US. They're going to get a free kick here as Morgan Bryan goes down.
Silly, really. You don't need to commit that foul. She's already going backwards.
Dahl Kemper. It's Crystal Dunn. All this against a cacophony of noise. That's played towards Carly Lloyd, who's in behind here and can't finish it. Big chance.
How good is this ball? Abby Dahlkemper looking up and just places it perfectly in her stride. I mean, you cannot place that any nicer. And it's the right idea by Carly Lloyd, just trying to steer it into that far post.
I think he thought it was in, didn't he? It wasn't. Carly Lloyd playing her 284th game for the US tonight. Heath to set something up down that left-hand side again. Marks here for Portugal, who have a big European Championship qualifying campaign starting in early October. They have to go to Albania. Scotland are in the group, Cyprus, Finland as well. They've had quite good chances of getting through that and making the Euros for only the second time, I'd say.
It'd only be their second major tournament. 2017 Euros their first. I absolutely think they could get through because they take the 9 group winners, and then you have the 3 runners-up with the best results in second place. So they could get, that's a great group for them.
Most of these players were on vacation about 2 weeks ago. They only had a couple of training sessions together before they played the US in Philadelphia the other night. Should be a little bit sharper here, really. Carolina Mendes trying to set up Diana Silva.
Diana Silva is the one who comes in leading the team this year with 4 goals, 5 goals in World Cup qualifying, also led the team.
Heath here. Great run. To be fair to Portugal, the covering was good enough. Well, the referee there really, under the new rules, should have stopped the game because it hit her, and there should have been a dropped ball and given to the team who had it last, but that was not applied. It's part of the new laws that have kicked in this year. Might drop to Carly Lloyd again here. She missed her first chance. Carly Lloyd is actually, despite limited time, the top goal scorer for the US in the calendar year so far.
10 goals, leads the entire team. 37 years old, Ian Darke.
Yeah, she only
So
started
impressive.
once at the World Cup, but she did come on as a sub in every other game.
3 goals at the World Cup.
Yeah, still a role to play, but I think that role, when Alex Morgan is fit, and I think Carly has to accept that, is as a super sub, and maybe she could go on for quite a while in that kind of role if she's happy to do that. Maybe she's not. Well, we'll find out, I'm sure. Juliet's on the ball again. Husband Zach of the Eagles come out to France to watch her in action. And so that's nice football by the Portuguese players. Fatima Pinto. There's 2 Pintos in the midfield, are not sisters. Lewis. Freedom of the arena out there for Crystal Dunn. Not really defended properly. McDonald was just taken a little bit surprised that that ball even got through to her. Sonnet. Lovely turn. Juliet's to play it in again. Portugal defending well though. Not really cleared properly. Fantastic save from the goalkeeper there to deny Carly Lloyd, who must score this time, and does. Continues her hot scoring streak, and the USA, it took them 21 minutes, but they've done it.
Pereira with the smile, because there's only so many bites you can give Carly Lloyd at that apple before she's gonna eat the whole thing, and there it is. Again, it comes back to her in a perfect position, and it starts with that poor first clear, and the US will punish you for that. You can be certain of it.
She's enjoying this victory tour. She scored against Ireland, she scored against Portugal the other night, she scored against Portugal again here. Her 116th goal for her country, that is. Only Abby Wambach, Mia Hamm and Christine Lilly have got more in history. Well, you felt there had to be a breakthrough. I'd give credit to Portugal. I think they defended well to that point, but got themselves in a mess. Right under the crossbar and off the underside of the bar. I think it was McDonald's header, and she's wondering how she didn't score.
And this is an area Portugal just cannot continue to give up. These set pieces that are sliding into their 6 and into their box, because the US is going to dominate those all night. Solid in the first game against Portugal.
Jessica McDonald hit the woodwork, as I remember, at the World Cup in her only appearance against Chile. Does it again here. Mendes with the clearance. They just can't keep the ball, Portugal. The US are playing this really with the ruthlessness that we saw at the World Cup itself.
And again, Portugal thinks they're going to establish possession. They get that press put on them. Ertz wins it back. I mean, how many times in midfield are we talking about Julie Ertz and a tackle winning a ball? And the role she plays in that holding center mid.
I think she's been fantastic here. Second corner for the US. The height of Jessica McDonald in particular a problem for that Portuguese defence. They're not the tallest, so anything aerially I think is a bit of an issue, and maybe for the 20-year-old goalkeeper Ines Pereira as well. Well, this was almost the big moment for Jessica McDonald. It's only her second start in the team.
And you can see she gets position. She just is not quite over the ball enough.
In her first start for the team, away to Portugal, she got the winner in Estoril. Here's Julia again. Must be one of the very first names on the team sheet every time. Similarly, Abby Dahlkemper, who's played more than anybody else for the team this year. Portugal discovering, as one or two other teams have, the gap between themselves and the world elite here. And Francisco Neto and his coaching team are not frightened to take on these tasks. They've lined up a friendly against England as well, World Cup semi-finalists, of course. It's in October. Done. Becky Sauerbrunn, who's 34 now. I asked her yesterday, did she fancy doing another 4-year cycle, trying to get for the next World Cup? I think I'd take advantage. I don't want to overstay my welcome, but if they'll have me.
If they'll have me.
Yeah. Which is a nice self-effacing way of looking at it. There's a cross, elects to punch Pereira. It's done. It's all USA. We thought it probably would be. Mendes. Tatiana Pinto, but possession squandered by Portugal. I just think they're finding the pace of the game too difficult for them. Hardly time to blink, let alone think, out there for them. There it is again. Mewis nicks the ball away like a pickpocket. McDonald. So cut it back. Done. Thought about the shot. So did Brian. Borges got in a good challenge for well, under siege, you'd have to say, Portuguese side. Just in little flashes, that's nicely down there with Norton. Tatiana Pinto wanted too much time, and then Mewis beaten away by the goalkeeper. Heath couldn't take advantage. 2 saves from the young Sporting Lisbon goalkeeper to save Portugal from conceding a second.
And again, they pickpocket them in midfield. Mewis looking for it. What a great second save by Pereira as well. Establishing position. But Portugal just cannot get out of their final third. Every time they try and establish some possession, there's a U.S. red jersey or 2 or 3 around them.
No mercy, really, from the U.S. They got quite a lot of criticism, didn't they, for kind of over-celebrating that 13-0 win against Thailand in the first game. That scoreline really, I think, was an indication of what we've been saying here. They just don't stop. They weren't not going to get to 6 and say, oh, that'll do.
Right.
We've got the 3 points. We'll just take a foot off the gas. They just carried on going for it. Monica Mendes here wearing the number 2 shirt for Portugal tonight. She's one of the players who doesn't play in Portugal, plays for the women's version of AC Milan. I think the fans are seeing what they wanted to see. The world champions turning on the style and hopefully getting a few goals. But there will have to be change over time because 18 of the 23 are going to be over 30 in 4 years' time. Lloyd, Heath goes down, and that was inside the box. Yeah, penalty. Again, it was Borges with the challenge. That's been a running battle between those two, and I think it's fair to say that Tobin Heath's been coming out on top.
You knew it was going to be a long night for Borges early on. Just that little touch. Was her foot actually outside the box, though?
That's what she's arguing. I have to say it looked in to me, but I'm prepared to be persuaded otherwise. This is going to be Carly Lloyd again. Carly Lloyd, greedy for another goal, and gets it. Perfect penalty. No stopping that. But was it a penalty? Let's have another look. Was it outside the box? It was certainly very, very tight. And remember when you watch it back in a moment that the line counts as inside the box. It's outside, isn't it? Just.
Yeah, I would have given that outside. And you know Carly Lloyd isn't going to miss this one.
A bit hard done by then. And if we had VAR tonight, of course, that would have wiped out that penalty. US don't care. Lloyd again picked a pocket of space very nicely. Tobin Heath, who plays for the Portland Thorns team, who are leading the NWSL at the moment. I think North Carolina Courage have a game of 2 or 3 in hand, don't they?
They have a game in hand, I think. It's great, though, that it's there she is on the
yes, confirmation.
Total U.S. list, yeah. 4th most.
Is Ertz, the USA camped out, and they might have had another one there with McDonald, and Carly Lloyd is on for a hat-trick here.
In front of Carly, and we put the 4th up there, Christine Lilly, Mia Hamm, and Abby Wambach.
Yeah.
I'd say that's some pretty good company in those top 4 there.
Yeah, I had said that earlier, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm listening to you a lot, Ian.
But it's always worth remembering, refreshing
just
the audience.
Reminding you.
Is Andrea Norton, whose father was a Brazilian professional. She never actually met him, rather sadly. Diana Silva.
I was just thinking my husband's at home going, she never listens to me either.
I'm not getting into that one. Slightly breezy night here in Minnesota tonight. We had a big storm here last night, and reports of a nearby tornado even. Speaking of which, our very best wishes to everybody affected by Hurricane Dorian. Do be safe. Lloyd with the layoff. Now Sam Mewis passing the ball around nicely. Here's Jessica McDonald. Emily Sonnet cuts it back again. Lloyd trying to get on the end of it. ESPN's coverage brought to you by Volkswagen, presenting sponsor of US Soccer. Let's all drive something bigger than ourselves. Carly Lloyd stealing the show a little here. She was even kicking field goals. NFL practice, wasn't she, with the Eagles recently?
55-yarders,
yeah,
mind you.
Does she have a career in that then as well?
You know what? I say yes to everything with Carly. Yes. Why not? Yes. Play a World Cup at 41? Yes. She could pull it off.
I think she's talking about ending her international career after the Olympic Games. But I think she'll have to be dragged away from all of this. Still has a hunger. There's a lot of talk about the players being physically and emotionally tired after the summer, but I think Carly Lloyd's made it pretty clear. No, she's having to keep playing.
I'm good.
Crystal Dunn. Don't forget the Laughter Permitted podcast with Julie. A fun, thoughtful, candid conversation with trailblazers in sport.
Amazing.
You can read this. It's about
yeah, you don't have to read that either.
About the joy, chaos of life and sports. Laughter and donuts permitted, it says here. Season 1 available now. Listen on Apple or Spotify.
Season 2 coming up.
To be fair, it's very good. Now you got your plug in now.
Thank you. And you want to know who's coming in season 2? Oh, thank you for asking again.
And who is coming in season 2, Julie?
Billie Jean King.
Wow.
The Kinger.
Oh, wow.
Yep. It's one of them. Wow. Tamika Catchings, 4-time Olympic gold medalist.
You are pulling in some top guests. I'll give you that.
Kind of a big deal.
There's Megan Rapinoe there.
I said to her when I saw yesterday, I said, whoa, what shade is this?
Yeah.
She goes, I need to knock it down a few notches. That's what I know.
I was joking with her yesterday. I said, you perhaps need to take a bit of a higher profile.
It's a skill set in itself, getting it to that pink hue.
Cut out by Marks in midfield. Just struggling to keep the ball, Portugal. It's very, very difficult because they haven't played much big championship football in their time, and it's a big step up and something of a culture shock for the players to play at this kind of rarefied level of the game.
And that mask Sam Ewis is wearing is actually from the first Victory Tour game, the August 3rd game against Ireland. Broke her nose in that one.
Cut out by Monica Mendes.
Good to see her out there, and she's battling like she has nothing on her face. Going up for every header, every tackle.
Now it's interesting, the VAR debate, because you were saying earlier on, thank goodness we don't have it. But if I'm honest with you, I'm a fan, because I want to see justice. And
no, to be fair, I am a fan. I'm not a fan of how they utilized it at the Women's World Cup.
Oh, no, they got it wrong there.
Until they literally told the referees to back off.
It's got to be applied smoothly.
Exactly.
Minimum intrusion, maximum justice.
Exactly.
But I think they're working on it. It's going to take 3 years, I think, to get right. Oh, it's another chance here for a third goal, but this time Carly Lloyd is not able to strike. She scored twice. She could have had 2 more easily.
And I think she probably just thought about this one a little too much when it's coming at her. Tried to place it and mishit it.
Morgan Bryan winning the header. Surprise pick in many people's eyes for the World Cup, but I think Julie Ellis looked at it and thought, she's somebody I can probably rely on if I need to bring somebody in and we have a lot of injuries. As it happened, she didn't get too many minutes, of course, having been the youngest player in the 2015 squad.
Good to see her getting back healthy again as well.
Yeah, she's had her problems. Lewis lays it wide. Here's Lloyd. Could be another goal here. They're almost lining up. Couldn't finish it though. Next Wednesday, Orlando Pride against Chicago Red Stars from the NWSL. That's Wednesday, September the 11th, 7 p.m. on ESPN News for that particular game. Those guys on the drums are available to book for your party anytime. Better warn the neighbours. Carolina Mendes going down, the striker. Took a nasty knock there. She did score against England and Scotland at the last European Championships. When Portugal went out, they're only beaten 2-1 by England. Yeah, they're going to play this out now in the US so that Carolina Mendes can get some treatment. Just took a nasty little knock there. Oh, yep. Becky Sauerbrun's stud scorter. At half-time, we've got some interesting debate for you about the women's pay fight for equality with the men. What will be the end game? How will that be settled? And we'll also be talking about who the new coach might be after Jill Ellis leaves in early October. And of course, there's the NWSL playoff push as well coming up. So a half-time talk might be a little livelier than usual. We hope so, anyway.
Lots to talk about.
Yes, 88th cap for Carolina Mendes here. She's played all over Europe, Spain, Italy, Sweden, Russia even. Painful one, that. Both teams allowed 6 substitutions later, and the US entitled to keep the ball because it was they that played it out.
One of the things Jill Ellis did talk about with these games is, especially as they come into this playoff stretch for NWSL, and the push to get into the playoffs is sharing the love and the load, as she says. So a lot of subs we'll be seeing in that second half so that they can go back as fresh as possible to their NWSL teams. Yeah,
and I think that's fair because you need that relationship between a national coach and the club coaches. It is an important time for the clubs, so there's just a bit of a duty of care, I think, from Jill Ellis, which she's well aware of, to send those players back as fit as they can be. Abidal Kemper. Becky Sauerbrunn. Towards Lloyd again, that angled ball, well dealt with on that occasion. Be a minute of stoppage time. Tatiana Pinto, that will never reach her. Portugal have been hounded out of the ball in midfield by the US's high press. And this time it's the US who give it away though, and they maybe should have had a free kick there. Mendes, who's fit again, played that through Norton, trying to thread her way through the defence. Thought she should have been given the free kick. The referee wasn't interested, and here come the US again. Could they add another one before the break? Lloyd and Heath combining once again. Tobin Heath skipped past Borges like she wasn't there. Kept the ball in play as well. And still it's not cleared properly by Portugal. Morgan Bryan from a long way out. He's a long way off target in truth. Two goals for Carly Lloyd, scoring in every game she's playing for the US just at the moment. That is half time. 2 goals, it could have been more. Carly Lloyd maybe could have had 4 in that half, and it's been pretty much one-way traffic. When we return, Julie and I will discuss the hottest topics around in women's soccer. ESPN coverage brought to you by Volkswagen.